Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Well, welcome. We're so excited to have you here today. On behalf of the university, I'd like to welcome you to our parent and family orientation program. I'm very excited to have you here. My name is Justin Beauchamp. I'm the coordinator of orientation and first year experience here at Hopkins. I just got to join our wonderful community here in January, so I'm very excited to be here and really excited to be here in the great city of Baltimore. So in my role here at Hopkins, I get to work with some really great faculty, amazing staff members, and some really incredible students. Some of you may have met throughout the course of your move-in and throughout the day today to really develop programs and activities that help our students transition to their first year here at Hopkins. So I supervise the orientation core team and the first year mentors, many of whom your students will interact with quite a bit over the next few days of orientation. And it has truly been a pleasure to work with these students and to create this orientation program for you and for your students alike. And like I said, we're very excited to welcome you here today, and we hope that we have a great program that is informative and helpful for all of you in your transition here to Hopkins. So it's been said that 90% of life is about showing up. So since you are all here, I'd say great job. You're here, you're ready to go. So sure, we can. So well done. And I would say the orientation programming that you and your student will go through in these next few days is that other 10%. So it's about knowing what to do now that your cars have been unloaded and unpacked by total strangers who actually, may soon become your students' closest friends. And now that your students have moved in, unpacked all of their items, their comforters, posters on walls, they've filled their shower caddies, orientation is about them getting to know where their classes are in just 5 short days from now, which is probably very exciting and also very scary for some of them and maybe even for some of you. So it's about teaching them, where to get a cup of coffee when midnight strikes and they're still in the library. It's about knowing what to do when your students start to wonder about changing their major after taking their first semester of classes and who they talk to in order to make that important decision. For you, it's about learning some of these things too, so that you can remind your student where to go for help or for that coffee at midnight. It's also about helping you to encourage them to do some of these things on their own, with help from the amazing staff and faculty that we have here at the Hopkins community. So again, it's been my pleasure to meet you all this weekend and welcome you to our campus. I look forward to seeing hopefully many of you back for Family Weekend, October 23rd to 25th. And again, if there's anything that I can do throughout the rest of the program, please let me know. So at this point, I would like to introduce our Vice Provost for Student Affairs, Kevin Schollenberger.
Thank you, Justin. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope that your sons and daughters are getting settled into their rooms. And I just really want to add to the chorus of welcomes and congratulations. We are thrilled to not only have your son and daughters join the Hopkins community, but for all of you to be extended members of our community. Each of our students that we admitted this year in the class of 2019 are absolutely extraordinary. They're intelligent, they're driven, they're highly accomplished. Many of them have held leadership positions in their high school and their community. But I do want to say, even the most talented and accomplished students, it's very natural that they will go through a transition, much like Justin mentioned. I'm sure they're excited, a little bit scared, thinking about their classes, who they're going to meet, that all of these are very natural feelings. And it's why we are here as Student Affairs, along with our partner offices in Academic Advising and Pre-Professional Office, to really help your son and daughter get the most out of their experience here. And so even though each of your sons and daughters are very unique, there are some common transition issues that we see with students. For our freshmen, this may be the first time that they take total control of their education, which is very different from high school, where most students have fewer choices within a set curriculum. But we, as you know, do not have any universal imposed core curriculum for our students. So they're very empowered to pick their majors, their minors, and really think about developing their programs. And so even for the most ambitious students, this can at sometimes be overwhelming for them. They will also find unprecedented degree of freedom while they're here. They will have relatively little structure compared to high school outside of the classroom. So it is important that they learn time management skills, how to apply those study skills, in addition to finding and balancing their extracurricular activities. And lastly, for some of your sons and daughters, this may be the first time living away from home and living with a roommate or people that they don't know. And so they'll quickly learn life skills of how to navigate unfamiliar social spaces. But again, I want to assure you that they are in very good hands with our student services. And you'll be learning more about them later this afternoon. We're also going to be sharing all of these with your sons and daughters. But like Justin said, there are going to be these times where they're going to call or text you. And so you can really be our partners in helping them to remind them everything that's available to them. Everything from our health and wellness center to the registrars to housing and dining, like I said, our academic advising, the career center, our student activities office, and the list goes on. So we're really here to help them with everything outside of the classroom. I also really encourage our students to get involved in addition to their academics, be it in a debate organization or working with our Office of Multicultural Affairs, being in one of our 300 clubs or organizations. Not only is this a great way for them to meet friends and develop a community, but it also is a wonderful way for them to enhance their leadership and interpersonal skills, which will serve them well when they graduate and move on to their career of choice. But I'm talking a lot about your students' transition. I no doubt know that this may be a transition for you also. As you renegotiate your communication and boundaries with your son and daughter. And I'm just curious, for how many of you is this your first child that you're sending off to college? Wow, quite a few. Okay. For how many of you, you've done this before? You've had another child? Okay, so those of you who their first time, check out who have had other children, because as parents, you can be a great resource for each other. So I have a short story to tell you. I have two nephews, which I totally adore. One is a sophomore in college, and the other just graduated this year. And actually, last Thanksgiving, I had the entire family over for the holiday, and my two nephews took me aside, took me into the kitchen, and they said, "Uncle Kevin, we need your help with our mother." And I'm like, okay, this is my sister-in-law. I'm not really sure where this is going. How can I help? And they, the youngest, who was a first year, said, I'm struggling a little bit in my course. I have an appointment with my academic advisor, but my mother's insisting that she comes with me. I was like, okay. And the oldest quickly chimes in and says, I'm actually very excited that I have an interview set up for a job that I really want. And I'm very thankful that my mother is going to drive me to the interview, but I'm afraid she's actually going to come in with me. So I'm not making this up. This was my Thanksgiving conversation. They're like, you do this for a living, can you do something? And they didn't want to offend her because they were very appreciative of all the love and the support that she has given them. So I was trying to do this in a way without offending her and acknowledging all the support and what a great mother she's been. So I sent her this cartoon that I want to share with all of you. I think this helped her get the point. But what I like to say is your son and daughter will still very much need your support. We'll count on you and your wisdom to know that you're there for them, but also to allow them to take some risks, make some mistakes. It may mean that they fail in something, and you're there then to help them pick up and try again. But this is really a time for them to, again, practice that independence as they go into adulthood. So the last thing I want to say as parents is we do want to stay connected with you, and there are many ways you can stay connected with us. One is through our website. We have a wonderful, it's called The Hub, news feed that talks about all the various things that are going on at Hopkins. So it's a great way to keep up on what's happening here. There is also a parents' Facebook page, so it's a way for you all to stay connected with each other and ask each other questions. And in addition, my office sends out a quarterly parent newsletter. So these are all ways that we communicate with you and stay connected while your son and daughter are here at Hopkins. So with that, again, congratulations, and again, I want to just welcome you, and we're really thrilled that you joined us. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Beverly Wendland, who's the James Knapp Dean of the Krieger School of Arts and Sciences, to give a few remarks. Dean Wendland was appointed Dean of the Krieger School this past February. However, she's no stranger to Hopkins. She's been here over 15 years, serving as a faculty member and chair of the biology department. And I just love working with Dean Wendland because you will see her at many student events throughout the year, and has been a great advisor to many students. So she's a very hands-on dean, and I have no doubt that your son and daughter will flourish under her leadership. So please help me welcome Dean Wendland.
Thank you, Kevin. And I would like to bid a good afternoon to all of our parents and families here, and to extend my very, very warmest welcome to all of you to Johns Hopkins. I am quite sure that all of you are very excited about your students' academic career at Hopkins, and I want to assure you that my colleagues and I are similarly excited. Whether our students plan to major in art history or physics, English or public health, chemistry or sociology, or if they're undecided and eager to explore their options, we want our students to view their academic time here as an adventure, a discovery, if you will. And not just the discovery of new knowledge, although that is our steadfast mission at the School of Arts and Sciences, but discovery of themselves, discovery of who they are as members of this extraordinary Hopkins family, discovery of what makes them passionate, of what excites their curiosity. It might be studying organisms that live in an environmental biome. It might be examining the subtleties of an ancient language, or maybe it's untangling the intricacies of international economies. Whatever their interest, we want to nourish and grow that passion and that curiosity. So how is it that we do that? One thing that makes a Hopkins education unique is the robust research environment. From the day they set foot on campus, our students have the opportunity to study and conduct research with Nobel laureates, with esteemed authors, with world-renowned scientists, widely cited social scientists, and experts in a whole wide range of disciplines. Our faculty are eager to share their research techniques and creative possibilities with our new students. We know that we are educating the leaders of tomorrow, and we take that responsibility very, very seriously. Before I was named Dean of the Arts and Sciences School, I was a professor in the biology department and later chair. And let me tell you, there is almost nothing that compares to the feeling that I get when one of my students exhibits the same enthusiasm for a research project that I have. And sometimes that enthusiasm, that curiosity, might take a student in an unexpected direction. I've known many students who have started in one major only to have their interest pulled in a different direction. And that's okay. I think that's great, in fact, as long as they're following their passion for knowledge. That's actually what happened to me. When I started college, I was a geophysics major, and that's because I was fascinated with things like earthquakes and plate tectonics. But then when I was in college, I took an amazing class in zoology. And I took that class as one of my distribution requirements, not because I was like particularly excited about zoology. But by taking that class, I suddenly had my eyes opened to a whole new way of thinking and a whole new world that I hadn't experienced before. And I realized that you could look at a biological system and ask how or why it works that way. And that really got me very excited, and so I ended up changing my major, and so the rest is history. So my point is that here at Hopkins, we want our students to be open to having their lives changed, open to having their curiosity piqued, perhaps by a single class, or a professor, or a particular assignment, or some kind of new project. And once these students experience that passion for something really new and different, that causes them that, that wish to really dig deep into that new knowledge or that new area of inquiry, trust me, there will just be no stopping them. Because as Kevin alluded to, the students that we have here, your children, really are amazing people, and they really are going to be the leaders of the future. So I look forward to getting to know you in the coming months and years, and I look forward to watching your children, our students, discover their academic passions, and in the process, discover themselves. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce my colleague, Dean Ed Schlesinger, the Benjamin T. Rome Dean of the Whiting School of Engineering. Since he arrived on campus in January of 2014, he has demonstrated a deep commitment to our undergraduates. He's taught electrical engineering. He helped launch a paid summer internship program for engineering students at JHU's Applied Physics Laboratory. And, perhaps most impressive of all, over the course of the past year, he and his wife invite every first-year engineering student to their home to enjoy a home-cooked meal, and they're going to be doing that again this year. So please help me in welcoming the Dean.
Thank you, Beverly. Let me add my congratulations and my welcome to Johns Hopkins. And let me say that I want you to know that whatever you're feeling today, I think I felt it too. You're a little bit worried, you're a great deal proud, you have a certain level of relief that this moment has come. And the reason I can say that with some confidence is because so far I've dropped 3 of our children off at college, including last year when I stood in this auditorium welcoming and reassuring the parents of our first-year students, just as I'm doing now, while my wife was sitting in the audience. Our daughter was about to begin her freshman year here at Hopkins as an engineering student. And so I stood here and I promised all of the parents that their children would surely going to make great decisions when unencumbered by their parents' constant, unsolicited advice. And I noticed that my wife had this look on her face, rather dubious, and that's kind of the way I felt myself. But it turns out I was telling the truth. Our students, our sons and daughters, do make great decisions. It's just not always the decisions we as parents would make. But we know that choosing to come here to Hopkins was one of the best decisions they could have made. As Dean of Engineering and as a father who's just completed my rookie year as a Hopkins parent, I've decided to take this opportunity to give you all some unsolicited advice. We need to let our kids do their jobs. There are certain characteristics that I believe define and lead a student to choose to attend Johns Hopkins. Our children are creative, they're fearless, they're driven, they're independent, and they want to have impact on the world. And we need to let them do that, even if it means that they venture out of their comfort zones and out of our comfort zone. They choose to attend Johns Hopkins because they know that we at this university can provide them with access to the resources and opportunities they need to channel their strengths, define their passions, and become leaders. The kind of leaders who come up with innovative, practical, and visionary solutions to complex problems. I promise you, if we give them some space and let them explore and discover and get involved, this will happen. We have students who are absolutely amazing. They have turned class projects from an airplane pillow that sanitizes the air around a traveler's face to biomedical devices that make spine surgery safer. They have turned these class projects into startups that are now working out of the university's tech accelerator down the street and are attracting investors. And recognizing our university's role as an integral part of the Baltimore community, we have students who have launched numerous projects across the city. They've helped neighborhoods turn abandoned lots into community gardens. They've developed software that allows the city's homeless to access medical records. And they've used their skills to recycle and rebuild computers for Baltimore City schools, and many of them partner with our programs of outreach for the Baltimore City schools and helping and educate Baltimore City students. I know it's scary to let go, but one thing I've learned as a parent, a faculty member, and as dean, our kids will thrive, will learn the most, and have the best possible experience if we give them some space to make their own decisions, and yes, and this is important, to make some mistakes, to explore new interests, and to follow their passions. If all of us, parents and students, are doing our jobs right, college is about our kids' personal and intellectual growth as much as it is about us as parents ceding some control. Our children are in good hands. They are students at Johns Hopkins. And I'll say this to all of you as a parent, we all must have done something right. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon. So like some of our speakers today said, the Hopkins experience is really about discovery, knowledge, exploration, and sometimes making mistakes. And so we hope that we can support you all in your transition to Hopkins as well as your students. So at this point, it is my great pleasure to welcome Dean Terry Martinez to the stage. Dean Martinez joined us here at Hopkins a little over a year ago, and she's done some really incredible things to enhance student life here at the university. So I would like to introduce you at this moment to Dean Terry Martinez.
Good afternoon and welcome. You have arrived. For those of you that drove from home or others who may have rented a car at the airport to get to campus, you probably punched into a GPS or used Google Maps on your phone, 3500 North Charles Street or Johns Hopkins University, and it guided you through the streets of Baltimore until you got to campus. And when you got here, that was the message you may have heard. You have arrived. We know that you and your student have both worked very hard to get here, and we encourage your students to enjoy the journey they are about to embark on. Again, as Vice Provost Schollenberger said, I am one of many voices in a chorus that will welcome you to campus over and over and over again. And we are so excited to have you here. You now join a community that cares for each other and takes care of each other, one that challenges and supports each other in easy moments as well as those difficult ones. Parents, I know this is a bittersweet moment for you. On one hand, you are thrilled that your child has accomplished so much to get here, and on the other, difficult because it may feel as though a part of your body, your heart, is leaving you. I know this feeling. As some of you have gone through this before, know that they do come back. Some come back with friends, some come back with laundry, and perhaps that I've been away at college hair that hasn't been cut in months. They will come back. They come back with new ideas and thoughts about who they are becoming during this transition from adolescent to adult. And these may be difficult moments, particularly as students begin to make independent choices about how they will live, what they will learn, and where they choose to spend their time. As the Dean of Students, I am uniquely positioned to help define a significant part of your students' experience. I oversee 13 different units which comprise life outside of the classroom: residential life, counseling, dining, health services, campus involvement, the Interfaith Center, the Office of LGBTQ Life, fraternity and sorority life, and student conduct, just to name a few. Student life is part of your student's experience from the moment he or she walks onto campus until the time he or she walks across the stage in 4 short years. I'm responsible for defining what expectations are for students as they live in community with each other, and to share with students what expectations we have for them, and to hold students accountable for behavior that may be contrary to our expectations. Know that we will help guide them and support them in many ways. Over the course of the next few days, we must and we will engage them in difficult conversations, conversations about what it means to live in community with individuals who may possess different perspectives that may challenge some notions they hold. We'll talk with them about making healthy choices around alcohol and to help them make informed decisions around their own sexual behaviors. As a parent, you know that these can be uncomfortable or difficult conversations. We see them as learning moments and we can't neglect them. So if you haven't had any of those conversations with your students, you probably have about 15 minutes to get those in very quickly. So over the course of the next couple of days, here are some things I wanted to share with you about what's going to happen in between some team building activities and getting to know you that for extroverts are wonderful. I love those things. For introverts, it will be so painful, but we ask them to go through those exercises because they'll get to know each other and they'll get to know their colleagues and their friends. So over the course of the next couple of days, we're going to talk with your students about their rights and their responsibilities. There is power within our community, and we expect our students to know what their power is. They have a right to know, what the expectations are for both the classroom and out-of-classroom experiences, so we'll be sharing that with them. They have the right to educational opportunities without discrimination or harassment. They have a right to speak freely their minds and their thoughts, even if it may be contrary to others' opinions. And they have a right to privacy. And we'll talk more about that with you, which is very frustrating for some parents sometimes. They also have some responsibilities. They have the responsibility to familiarize themselves with all of our university policies and protocols and to abide by them, not just the ones that are on campus, but the federal, state, and local ordinances as well. They have the responsibility to create an environment that is safe for others and to take care of each other and to ensure that others' rights aren't violated. We'll be having a conversation with your students around alcohol use. As members of the Maryland Collaborative, President Daniels last year charged us with taking a look at an issue that many campuses throughout the country face around students' alcohol behaviors and how they engage in safe behaviors. So we will be talking with your students about making healthy choices if they choose to drink. The drinking age in Maryland is 21. We hope that they will abide by these laws, but we know that sometimes students make other choices. So we will talk with them about those choices. We will talk with them about what it means to get amnesty when they make decisions and need to call for help. And we will talk with them about a progressive discipline process and when we begin to have conversations with you. We know, again, that some students may make some choices that we don't agree with, but we also know that they need to know that we will communicate with you when we believe that they may be a danger to themselves or others, or our continuing behavior contrary to our advice to them to make better choices. We'll also be speaking with your students about what it means to be a member of a fraternity or sorority on campus. We know that many fraternities and sororities, if you just Google on a national level, there are some challenges that these communities face. What we're doing at Hopkins is having a conversation with our fraternity and sorority life communities about being values-driven organizations. Fraternities and sororities provide a wonderful opportunity for socializing, leadership development, philanthropy, service, and networking. And we want to make sure that our behaviors and practices are in alignment with the things that they espouse, the values they espouse. We also know that we have some unrecognized student organizations on campus, and as parents, we want you to know that. They are listed on our website, so as your son or daughter begins to think about or decides to engage in fraternity or sorority life, please ask them some questions. It's important that they're recognized because it means that they're being advised properly, that the university recognizes them, and that their national chapter advises them and recognizes them as well. It allows us to make sure that they're following safe behaviors and that there's a level of accountability for their relationship with a fraternity or sorority. If at any point you have questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office and have the conversation about what your student might be thinking with respect to fraternity and sorority life. Safety and security we know is paramount. I have had some conversations with folks about our campus and the community. Know that your student is entering a new environment, and like any time you enter a new environment, you need to understand where you are and where you're going. Familiarize yourself with what you're doing, and we'll be talking with your students about some safety measures, right? But some of them are common sense, and others are things that we need to reinforce them. I am always surprised when I'm crossing Charles Street to see students not paying attention, not looking both ways, focusing on their phones, and not looking up. These are some of the things that I know you talked with them about when they were in kindergarten, and I hope that you continue to have those conversations. Some of the common sense things we tell our students, and I know that you have shared this with your student, know where you're going. Make sure that you're sober and alert when you're going there. Don't travel alone. Let someone know on campus where you're going and when you will be back. Please, we ask our students to program our campus security number into their phones, and they will receive that direction when we meet with them. And know that if at any point your student is downtown and feels as though they need to get back to campus, they can call campus safety, and we will make sure they get back to campus. That doesn't mean that campus safety is a taxi service, nor do we want it used as such, but we know that our students are members of this community, and we want to make sure that they're safe. So again, some common street smarts: tell your students not to look at their phones, to look up and know where they're going. They should also ask for help when they need help. Ask for directions, ask for support, ask for information on where they're going. And also to intervene. If they see it's the same adage, if you see something, say something. If there are issues of concern on or off campus or when they're in the community, they should contact us if they see something that is concerning to them so that it can be addressed appropriately. We'll also be talking with your student around sexual misconduct and consent. And what that means, again, if you pick up the paper or Google online, you know that this is part of a national conversation, and we are very much engaged in that conversation. There was a tremendous amount of work that was done this past year where we took a look at all of our policies, our protocols, and our procedures. We're taking a look at how we educate our students so that they understand what consent means, affirmative consent, and what that means for our students. And we'll be engaging in those conversations not just this week, but throughout the time that they're here. Allison Boyle is the Assistant Vice Provost and Title IX Coordinator, and she's down here. Allison, if you could do a pageantry wave. Fabulous. And Allison works with us very closely to make sure that our students are educated around sexual misconduct and consent and sexual behaviors. And she is also responsible for investigating any concerns that come to our attention. Vice Provost Schollenberger spoke a little bit earlier around what to expect the first year. There's a tremendous amount of excitement, and we know that, and students will be, testing their limits without you, right? You're not there to tell them, that they're maybe eating a little bit too much ice cream and not enough green stuff on their plates. We know that you're not there to tell them that it's time to go to bed and that they're not getting enough exercise. We know that you're not there to tell them that perhaps they're spending too much time with video gaming or other things that are so easy to distract them. We also know that they'll be exposed to new ideas, new thoughts, new perspectives, or they may come home and all of a sudden have decided that they're not just going to be vegan, but they're not going to, they're going to be very stringent about where their food is coming from, right? So bear with them and allow them to go through that process because, they are becoming adults and making decisions for themselves. You may get a phone call probably around 6 weeks in where a student has, the reality has set in with their schedules and their courses and their lives here as new students. And it may not be as peachy as when they first got here when we were playing games on the lawn in the next couple of days. Know that you're getting a snapshot to a much longer movie, and we hope that you will talk with them about the resources on campus, and you'll hear more about those in a few moments, and about who they can reach out to. We hope that you will work with them as they find their sense of place here on campus. There's going to be a time when your student comes home and they're going to say something to you that's going to be both shocking and alarming perhaps, but it's going to be a moment where you should find a sense of comfort. They might be home for a time and they say something like, "It's time for me to go back home," and they mean campus. Know that it's going to jar you and you're going to want to go into a whole tirade of this is your house, but what that means is that they've found their place here on campus. So find comfort in knowing that your student has connected with others and is finding their way around and has found their sense of place here. How can you partner with us? Do me a favor. Please don't call a faculty member to say that we aren't happy with our grade. Don't do that. Don't call your son or daughter's roommate to ask them to please clean the room. Don't do that. Don't call the coach to ask him to put more playing time on your student's plate. Please don't do that. These are things that have happened, which is why I'm sharing them with you. Instead, what you should do is talk with your student to say, have you had a conversation with your roommate? Have you spoken with your RA? Did you speak with one of the assistant directors in our residential life program? Have you spoken with your faculty member or your TA? Have you gotten assistance as you've needed it along the way with tutoring before you get into trouble? If you're a first-year student, it is likely that you may not get some playing time for a bit. Know that you have to work at that as you have, right? Many of our students have been at the top of their game in senior year, and now they're at the bottom of the rung again, and that might be difficult. But we will help them navigate those challenges. And as parents, I hope that you'll partner with us. By allowing your child to take the initiative, you're letting them learn how to advocate for themselves and how to be resilient. And we hope that you'll join us in that journey. If your student is currently receiving any kind of assistance, whether it's because they have a disability or an emotional or physical need, and they have prescriptions or seeing a therapist or a doctor or a teaching specialist, please make sure that they connect with those resources now so that there is a continuity of care, so that again, mid-semester, when things come up, that they've been connected appropriately. Quite often, this is a time when our students think, I'm an adult, I've got this, I don't need my meds, I don't need to see my doctor, I don't need to see someone about special assistance from an academic perspective. This is not the time, in particular during a transition, to stop those resources, to stop those connections. So make sure that there's a continuity of care. And now I want to talk a little bit about FERPA, which is the Federal Educational Right to Privacy Act that was passed in 1974. And it protects the student's privacy. And what that means is that we are not allowed to share with you information about your student without your student's written permission. We have to receive written permission from your student, and that means grades, and I know you pay the bills and you want to see the grades, but you need to talk with your students about what arrangement you're going to make with them about seeing those grades. We cannot share with you when your student goes to see a doctor or a psychologist or anyone else on campus. You need to have that conversation with your student about how and when they're going to share information with you. We will, however, contact you if we feel that your student is unsafe or has gone to the hospital or is posing a danger to themselves or others. We'll also contact you if your student is not in good standing with the university, if they're on probation. We allow our students to make mistakes, and so we give them a warning, and then we ask them to correct their behavior, and then the next step would be probation. And that's when you will hear from us as well, because if they get suspended or expelled as the next point, I want to make sure that that's not the first time you're hearing from us. So you will hear from us. With that being said, know that there are ways that you can stay connected with your students, certainly phone calls. Decide how often you're going to talk with your student. It is not unusual for us to get a phone call in my office because your student hasn't returned a phone call in a couple of days, right? So decide now and have the conversation with your student about when and how often you're going to call and who's going to do the calling. Send them emails, text messages, and sometimes now students, right, they're not even responding to text messages. I remember not too long ago, my husband and I were sending text messages to my son, and he wasn't responding. And so I sent him a text message that said, "Your dad and I are trying to figure out what kind of car to get you." Yep, he responded. And so we were able to have a conversation about expectations and how often we were going to communicate. You can stay connected with the university through our parents' Facebook. Certainly come to campus for family weekend, and certainly you can find out about all of the wonderful research and learning opportunities and exciting things that are happening here at Hopkins by getting information through our JHU Hub newsletter. We are so thrilled and excited to have you here as part of our family, and know that you can reach out to us with concerns. You must know that if you contact me, I will let your student know that you contact me. So please don't ask me not to tell your son or daughter, because I can't support and help them if we're colluding against them. We need to be in partnership for their success, and so I'll ask that of you. I am on social media, so if you are a Twitterer, My Twitter name is Dean T. Martinez. I'm always posting there. And sadly enough, I found out yesterday that our students aren't even doing Twitter anymore. So as cool as I thought I was, I found out quickly that I'm not. So I am now using my Instagram account, same name, Dean T. Martinez, and now need to post pictures. And I'm a bad photographer. So you may see pictures of the ground as I was walking or something on my desk, my empty glass of coffee or something. But please follow me on social media. And again, let's be in touch. I'm so thrilled that you're here, and I know that you're excited. We are too. So thank you so much, and welcome to Hopkins.
Thank you, Dean Martinez. So we have a short break in our schedule. It's designed so you all can have some time to stretch your legs, maybe grab some refreshments, enjoy the nice weather outside. So our next session is at 2:30. Very important session. A lot of our campus resources and student services will be on this panel. So I'd highly encourage you all to come back. And then following that is our academic advising session. So we hope to see you all soon, and let us know if you have any questions.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Please take your seats and we'll begin. This session is an opportunity for you to meet and hear from our campus partners. And I know that you've heard lots of things throughout the day. So it's an opportunity for you to ask questions. There should be some cards and some pencils going around. If you don't feel comfortable raising your hand and asking your question out loud, I'm happy to collect those cards and we'll answer the questions for you. But we'll begin by having our panelists introduce themselves. If you could share with us your name, the office you work in, and how long you've been at Hopkins. Irene, if you could start us off.
Okay. Oh, I get a little self-conscious with these things. You can hear me okay? I know I can hear the echo. Wow. Okay. My name is Irene Ferguson, and I'm the director for the Office of Multicultural Affairs. I've been at Johns Hopkins 5 years. Actually, just this summer was my 5th year anniversary. And so just welcome, and keep your eyes open and stay awake. You're looking a little sleepy. Wake up. But welcome. We're happy to have you. My office, the Office of Multicultural Affairs, our goal is really to just support the success of students while they are here at Johns Hopkins. And we do that through programs to help them transition to Johns Hopkins, through mentoring programs. We do it through educating others about diversity and supporting diversity initiatives on campus. We do it through social programming and Cultural Month programming. And we have programs that are for students who might be interested in pursuing a discipline maybe in healthcare or in other areas that try to help them learn more about what it is that they're choosing and then how they go about pursuing that goal. And we also support students who are first-generation college students. In other words, neither parent may have a 4-year degree, or students who may have attended schools, high schools, that didn't have the same opportunities for AP courses and achievement. So we just kind of do everything, and we have a small center that encompasses our office, so we're open late, and we like to say OMA is a home away from home, and it's for everybody to come and make use of the center. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alan Joff. I'm the director of the Student Health and Wellness Center here on campus. I've been full-time in Homewood Student Affairs and director since 2001, but I've been at Hopkins down in the medical school for many, many years more than that, and I'll just leave it at that. I like to think of the Student Health and Wellness Center as being pretty similar to your primary care physician's office at home. We provide pretty comprehensive care for students. Most of the routine stuff we can handle, and if it's something we can't handle, we will get them to the physician who can. We're open during the academic year. We're open every day, Monday through Friday. We're also open on Saturdays from 11 to 2. We have an after-hours nurse advice line for the times that we're closed, with a backup clinician, usually me, on call in case they encounter something they can't handle. And the only thing that I want to emphasize is that you do not need to have the student health insurance to use the student health center. Any student that's enrolled in Krieger or Whiting School can use the health center regardless of insurance status.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Allison Avolio, and I'm the Director of Residential Life on campus. And my staff is really in charge of taking care of your students once they are out of your care. So I have the gamut of about 70 student staff that live in and around your students. There are RAs, or resident advisors, so they probably welcomed you or your student as they were moving in over the weekend. And they are trained for multiple weeks prior to your student's arrival on a number of different things. So when some of your students come to you or call you and are asking you a question, your first response should be, have you asked your RA? Because they really do have a host of resources and knowledge about the campus and about the processes and procedures and things in place. So that's a really great first response for questions that might need answered. In addition, they also provide insurance that your student will have a safe and comfortable environment to live in. So they are on call through the evening. They are expecting knocks on the door at any hour of the day or night, because that is their job, is to be there for your student in any kind of time or need or question. In addition to those students, I also have 5 master's level professionals that live in and on campus that are supervise those student staff, but also are on call 24/7 for any kind of student crisis or any kind of facility emergency or anything that might come up. So they are an additional level of support for your students, and they hold office hours in some of the various locations across campus, so your students would interact with them in a number of different ways. So I wanted you to know that you have a lot of different layers of support for your students. So if anything's going wrong with a roommate, or if there's some noise down the hall that your student's not comfortable dealing with, or some issues with, anything that's coming up, that's who I want them to go to first, and for you to encourage that to happen, because that's the easiest way we can come to solutions and take care of things and ensure that they are having a happy and homey experience. Thanks. I'll be around for questions afterwards.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Bill Connor. I'm the Director of Dining Programs. I have the opportunity of now feeding your students since they're away from home. So we get to go grocery shopping, we get to cook, we get to clean up and do the dishes so that your students can focus on academics and community building with their colleagues while they're here. Our dining hall, we have an option available every day from 7 a.m. till 2 a.m. So there's quite a few options available across the campus that your students can take advantage of during any particular day of the week. I think the big thing that I've been getting a lot of questions on, just so everyone is aware, freshman meal plan started yesterday. So there's been a lot of confusion on when students can and can't eat. So I wanted to assure you that students could have eaten starting yesterday, and that information was shared with them. And I apologize if some of you got some bad communication. But again, for this evening, if you're leaving this afternoon, your students have the opportunity to eat in Fresh Food Cafe, starting to use their freshman meal plan. So if you have any questions related to dining that's specific to your student, I'd be glad to stick around, particularly relating to allergies or dietary needs. So thank you and welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Smith, Director of Transportation Services here, and we provide approximately 2 million trips a year, connecting people to various Hopkins locations and transit hubs. So our largest service is the Homewood Peabody JHMI shuttle, the big Hopkins buses you see running around campus, connecting here to Penn Station and then to Peabody School and JHMI Medical Campus. In addition, we run the Blue Jay shuttle, which is a nighttime transportation that consists of both routes and night ride, which is a point-to-point service. So anytime the students need to get out and about into the community, or get a safe ride home, we're there to provide it. In addition, we run the Road Scholar campaign, where we're teaching freshmen and all of our affiliates to be safe pedestrians and to pay attention when they're out walking. In addition, we run parking services, which is normally a paid service that we make free for this weekend as you're here dropping off your students. So welcome, and I'm game for any questions.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Good. For those of you that were in my session this morning, how many people were in my session this morning? We had a good time, didn't we? All right. Anyway, my name is Lee James. I'm the Executive Director of Campus Safety and Security. It's a 24-hour operation, 7 days a week, 365. And all the guys that you see either patrolling or walking or running around that is wearing some kind of security or safety uniform or police-looking uniform, those guys work for me. Our primary job is to make sure we have a safe university so that your student can enjoy a safe time while they're here. One of the things that we do, in addition to the campus police officers that I have 55 sworn campus police officers that you'll see that work directly for me. But I also have 140 contract security officers. Those are the guys that wear those bright neon yellow or green kind of sweater kind of thing. And you'll see those people outside on bicycles, they're on foot, they're all over the place. And we put them specifically along those areas of Charles Street and St. Paul Street and all the side streets. And if you were out here last night like I was, you would have seen some of them patrolling in vehicles with green flashing lights. And all of that is intended to prevent criminal incidents from happening at least to our students. The other element that you'll see out here is off-duty Baltimore City police officers that work with us, and I covered that this morning in our session. And the reason that is important because those Baltimore City police officers are armed. They're carrying firearms, and my officers don't carry firearms. So those are the three main layers of protection that we have here at the university, in addition to the over 325 CCTV cameras that we have that are monitoring, video surveillance cameras monitoring the campus, and they're monitoring both on and off campus areas where we know our students tend to frequent. We also have 113 emergency blue lights here on campus, and those are designed so that there can be quick access to our dispatch if there's a problem or there's an emergency and one of your students need to contact us directly. In addition to that, we work real closely with all the colleagues you see here on the dais, but in particular with the transportation services and the counseling services, in order to make sure, because people always ask us, well, how do we get around? How do we, if we're lost, how do we get from point A to point B? It's really important that we have that information we can give them. Another thing that we do is we tell the students that if they're somewhere out in the city and they don't have any money, they can't get back. If they call us, we will come and get them. So that's something that came up this morning again. But the last thing I'll say is this. I've been here now, this is day number 53 for me, which means I'm the new kid on the block, so to speak. But I'm enjoying it. I'm an alumnus of Johns Hopkins, and the last 6 years I spent over at Howard University in Washington, D.C. doing this business. So this is what I love to do, and excited to be here doing it. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't like to follow Lee, actually. You have this great energy to you. So my name is Matt Torres. Welcome, everyone. I'm the director of the Counseling Center here on campus. Our mission is to support the mental health needs of your students. Last year we saw about 1,300 students, so that's about 1 in 6 of the Homewood Peabody students. So we have the chance to talk with and try to support many of your students. We offer individual counseling, group counseling, consultation service, which I'll note includes you all. So we get calls from parents who are concerned about their students and maybe not sure how to be helpful or how to get them to come to the counseling center. We're more than happy to have those conversations with you, but I'll also emphasize the importance of confidentiality for us, that if your student is coming, if your son or daughter is coming to see us, we wouldn't be able to tell you that they are. But there are exceptions to confidentiality that I want you to at least hear about. that if something is going on that leads us to be truly very concerned about your student, we will work to talk to you with their permission. If they won't give us their permission and we have enough worry, we will be in contact with you. But generally, overall, we don't provide information about the students. We're just happy to hear information from you and to be of help to you. We also have, as Alan had mentioned, we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week on-call service. So if there's any struggles concerning mental health after hours, we're happy to be of help through campus police, actually. I also didn't mention I've been here 11 years, and I'll emphasize again, welcome to all of you.
Well, thank you to our panelists. If we can give them a round of applause. So if you didn't notice, I'm not Terry Martinez. I'm Tiffany Sanchez, not to be confused with Terry Martinez. I'm the Associate Dean of Student Engagement, and Dean Martinez needed to step away. So I'm going to take over for the Q&A portion of our session. So as you came in, we provided you with some little white cards. If you have questions for our panelists, now is the best time to write those down, and then we have some staff who are going to go through and collect them. So just to start us off, I would like to invite our panelists to maybe share with our families some of the great things about Baltimore, for example. Maybe what's one eatery that you really enjoy, or a place that you like to visit, something that maybe the parents can take their students to when they come back around family weekend time. So I'll just open that up to the panel while we wait for some questions to come down. And if you need a card, also, I'm sorry, Justin and Chelsea are out there with cards available. If you need them, just raise your hand and we'll get a card to you.
I was going to say, definitely catch a baseball game at Camden Yards. It's beautiful.
For me, I live in Mount Vernon. I live near the Peabody Institute, and if that's not something that your student's really taking advantage of, that's fine, but it's a beautiful place to go in and just look at. Their library is absolutely stunning, and they just have a beautiful facility, and then that area right there has a lot of really fun restaurants and things. It's right by the Washington Monument there in the middle, in kind of Midtown area, so I would suggest that. And the Helmand is my favorite restaurant in Baltimore. It's an Afghani food establishment that's on South Charles Street that's absolutely phenomenal.
Well, for me, I just happen to be fortunate. My office is across the street from a restaurant called The Diz. So I don't have to go too far to get lunch, but The Diz is a neighborhood restaurant not far from campus. It's in the 3100 block of Remington Avenue. And I would highly recommend The Diz as some place that you may want to visit. When Ms. Sanchez talked about our favorite things in Baltimore, one of the things I came across recently because of the job that I do and the travels I have, I had to go down to the Inner Harbor. It's more specifically to Harbor East, the Legg Mason building. That's where our Carey Business School is located, and a lot of restaurants along that area as well. So if you get a chance to get down to see our Carey Business School area down around the waterfront, that's a very, very good choice.
I'll put in a plug for a restaurant close to campus called Paper Moon, but I'll also say that that's to be avoided if you have any sort of doll phobia. If you go, you'll know what I mean, but they have dolls hanging all over the place, and kids' toys. And I take my daughter there, and she loves it because of that, but it's a little freaky, too.
Baltimore has a really interesting, quirky arts sort of sense of humor, and Paper Moon encompasses that to a T. So if you're interested in the quirky art side of Baltimore, Paper Moon's a great place to go. Go ahead.
I like the Visionary Arts Museum down on Key Highway. It's very interesting. It's quirky. You never know what you're going to see. But it's always mind-stretching. And then I hope all of you get to go to the Avenue in Hamden, and you can go anywhere from very fine dining at the food market to Cafe Hun to mussels to anything you want is there. And then between Thanksgiving and New Year's, you really need to come back to Baltimore and drive up and down 34th Street, which is lit up every row house on that block is lit up to an extent that's hard to imagine.
When as the dining guy, I have to say that there are a lot of fun restaurants in Baltimore. I think that there's an opportunity for everyone to dine depending on your palate. You could eat at any ethnic cuisine across the city and probably not duplicate once in a year. It's really a great place to come out and dine and go out and explore. Probably my favorite place right now is a place called Doobie's. It's also in Mount Vernon. They take a Philadelphia classic like a cheesesteak and then Korean barbecue, and they blend the two together, and they have a Korean barbecue cheesesteak that is really out of this world. And they also do their own homemade pastries, which is really a great place. The owner, if you run into him, lives upstairs and goes out for a run quite frequently. His name is Phil. Really great guy to get to know, and he's really eclectic. So that's probably one of the top ones right now. But really explore it and go online and hunt that down, or ask questions. We'll be glad to point you in that direction.
Great. Anybody else? You good? Okay. Greg Smith, we had quite a few questions about transportation. So if you could talk a little bit about the availability of shuttles to and from how students get to and from the airport or to other transportation hubs. Maybe talk a little bit about the Baltimore College Town service, bus line, and also MTA. Just talk a little bit about how students can get around campus and particularly to transportation hubs.
Well, I neglected to mention that tomorrow morning, before the students go out to the in and of the city service projects on buses, I will have the opportunity to speak to the entire freshman class and give them an overview of transportation services, both that we offer, but also that are available to them here in Baltimore. So as a quick summary, I would say that the Homewood Peabody JHMI shuttle that we operate is really the heart of transportation, because it does connect from here to Penn Station. And at Penn Station, you can catch Amtrak and MARC trains. You can catch the light rail. You can catch a variety of bus lines, both local, one of them being free, the Charm City Circulator, which has 5 routes in and around Baltimore City. One of them is actually a water connector, water taxi route. One of them goes to Fort McHenry. One of them hits the JHMI campus. One of them cuts basically east-west across, and one goes north-south through town. That purple line is actually scheduled to come here to 33rd Street later this semester, which we're very excited about. Another free service that any Hopkins affiliate can take advantage of is the Baltimore College Town shuttle that connects 7 or 8 colleges and university campuses here in Baltimore, including Morgan State, Towson, Loyola, Hopkins, Goucher, and along that, 2 major shopping plazas, the Towson Town Center and the Towson Town Mall. And at those shopping places, there are stores like Bed Bath & Beyond and Target, but also your typical mall stores. Did I touch on it? Additional MTA services include bus lines in the city. Fare is $1.70 or $3.50 for a day pass. And the light rail, which is the best way to get to the airport, would be to take our shuttle down to Penn Station and then jump on either a light rail train for $1.70 or a MARC train, making sure that it stops at the airport for $4 to $5.
And Greg also manages a program called the Hop Vans, which is available for student groups who might want to take a van to go to an event or do a program or do service out in the city. Do you want to highlight some of those things?
Yeah, so any student that's part of a group, so any of the student groups on campus, which there are over 300, is eligible to sign up to be a licensed driver, assuming they have a driver's license already. If not, they would need to get one. And we do put them through both an online training and then an in-person training class, but then once certified, they can reserve a hop van and let us know where they're going and why they're doing it. Generally this is teams and groups and service projects, learning opportunities. They can check out a van for a few hours or a few days. We put a 150-mile radius on the limit to where they can go. Aside from that, we do encourage zip car membership because we don't have parking for students on campus. So zip car, we have 25 to 40 cars. It kind of changes over the course of the year that are available to rent by the hour or by the day.
Great. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Just one additional thing that the Residential Life sponsors, and this is just more of a programmatic thing that we know that once the semester really gets to November and that Thanksgiving break is coming up, we encourage students to if they are able to go home and take that break. And we provide a coach bus shuttle to the airport for a small fee, just a few days leading up to the weekend prior to the break. So we won't bring them back, so we can't really figure out when all of your flights are getting in and everything, but we will take them there. So that's just a kind of one opportunity that we have during the fall semester, and potentially sometimes in the spring for spring break if there's enough interest. So that's just an additional piece. It's not sponsored by Greg, but we just do it as something to encourage students to take care of themselves and get back to you if they can.
And probably the way students are finding out about that is through their RA, emails, so they should make sure that they're listening for those things as well. Allison, a quick question for you around storage for summer break.
Sure. So storage things in, so I represent Residential Life, but our partners in our overall department are in the housing department, so I'm kind of speaking for them here. But we have trunk rooms currently that if you have some big empty suitcases that you would like to store not in your room, we do have availability for that on a first come, first served basis over this first week of school. In terms of summer storage, we don't on campus provide any summer storage if you are looking for it. However, we do recommend and have a good relationship with actually it's a Hopkins student enterprise called Hopkins Movers. And this is a service and an actual company that you can sign up with them. They will come to your room. They will take your boxed items and other things that you need stored. They will take it to a unit that is not too far away from here, and they will schedule a return delivery for you as well. So they are a fantastic group that does really, really good work, and we would recommend it to those who are looking for summer storage or other options similar.
Thank you. For Dr. Joff, we've had a lot of questions about the health insurance. What's available at the health center? How far away is it? If you could provide some overview, maybe something about prescriptions, where students can get those, what's included in the current medical insurance, Hopkins medical insurance, things like that.
Okay. So as I indicated, we operate pretty much like a primary care clinic. So we're staffed by physicians, nurse practitioners, a nurse, medical assistants, and then an administrative staff. If your son or daughter has a sore throat, ankle sprain, my stomach hurts, I have a skin rash, I need my pap smear, I'm interested in losing weight, anything that you would have taken your son or daughter to at home, we can handle, and we do handle. If it's something more complicated, your son or daughter has a chronic illness or a medical condition that we feel needs an expert second opinion, we will get them to a specialist. We do not charge to see a physician or a nurse practitioner. I like to say that your son or daughter's health care is prepaid. It's called tuition. So they can come one time or 50 times to see a physician, nurse practitioner, there's no charge. If they need allergy shots, there's no charge. The only time that we charge for something is if they purchase a prescription medication from us, or if they need crutches or a wrist splint. Those items do have a charge associated with them. But we don't charge for ACE wraps. If a student needs a starter dose of Tylenol, we don't charge for that. We do have a small pharmacy service. We are not a licensed pharmacy because we don't have a registered pharmacist on staff. So that means if your son or daughter comes in to see me and I think they have strep throat, if they want to purchase penicillin from us, they can. But your physician at home cannot call a prescription into us because, as I said, we don't have a licensed pharmacist on staff, and therefore we cannot fill prescriptions from outside providers. They would have to see one of our staff, and then we would have to concur with the treatment plan, and then we would be the ones that are prescribing. So that's prescriptions. The student health insurance or any kind of health insurance really doesn't come into play unless it involves a service that we can't provide. So if they need blood work, that's going to go to a commercial laboratory. We'll send the insurance information with the lab slip to the commercial lab. The commercial lab will bill your insurance company, and then whatever your deductible or copay is, you will get a bill from the lab after they've submitted that to your insurance company. We try to be very mindful in the current insurance landscape. So we know that if you have United Healthcare, we know that we have to use LabCorp. And Blue Cross Blue Shield prefers Quest. So, to the extent that we know, we will send the blood work to the appropriate lab so that you minimize the amount of money that you have to pay out of pocket. If you're not sure, I'm happy to answer email. You can call and ask to talk to one of our staff. We try to be as helpful as we can, and we realize that, the cost of going to college is expensive enough. You don't need large medical bills if it can be avoided. So we try to be very mindful of that, only order the tests that we think are necessary. And then I guess I should mention, because Matt reminded me, so we also operate under pretty strict rules of confidentiality. If your son or daughter is 18 or older, we cannot discuss anything about their health care unless they've given us permission to do so. That doesn't restrict you from calling me and saying, I'm really concerned about my son or daughter. It doesn't restrict you from asking how we might handle a situation. But if you call and say, I understand that Susie or Bill was at the health center yesterday, I'd like to know what happened and what you did, I can't answer that without permission from your son or daughter. You can rest assured that if we think it's something fairly serious, we really encourage students to, we'll probably be the first ones that say, would you like me to talk to your mom or dad? And a lot of students say, yeah, that would be great. But then there are some students who are going to say, no, I don't want you to talk to my mom or dad. And again, if they're over 18, we have to honor that.
Great, thank you. Bill, we had a couple of questions about the dining plan. If you can talk a little bit about, how many meals per week, what's the average that a student will eat, maybe talk a little bit about specific dining options, halal, kosher, those kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Freshmen have the opportunity to choose from 3 meal plans. They can choose the Anytime, the 19, or the 14. Those plans vary based upon how your student likes to eat. So if you have someone that eats quite frequently, perhaps they're athletic or a student athlete and they're working and they want to have a couple meals a day, that's going to be really popular for them. The 19 is really all the meals we offer. So it's, your 3 meals a day, your meals on the weekends. And then the 14 is for someone who really essentially eats 2 meals a day. If they like to snack in their room or if they grab their breakfast there. They're not early birds. They don't get up and eat every day, those sort of things. Part of the meal plan, so you have meal swipes, and then you also have dining dollars. Dining dollars available at any of our retail locations. So if you haven't been over to Woolman Hall, I encourage you to visit Charles Street Market. In Levering, where you were this afternoon, there's a retail cafe downstairs and a coffee shop upstairs. They can also eat at Nolan's, which is over in Charles Commons, using their dining dollars, so I encourage you to look into that. In terms of certain dietary options, we do offer a kosher program. It will run Sunday through Friday at lunch. That program is run through Fresh Food Cafe. We have a kosher supervisor with supervision through the OU that will oversee all the food services offered during that particular program. We also offer halal, and I would probably say it's by request or on demand. We have halal chicken and other products that are available for students. For the sole fact that we're a little bit limited in space. If you've not been to the dining hall, you would acknowledge that. And we don't have the opportunity to offer it as a full mainstream section of the dining room. Essentially how our halal program works is that you would be in communications with the chefs and the dining staff to let them know what proteins that you might want that are certified halal, and what we'll do is cook those to order and have them available for the meal in which you plan to come in. So that's pretty important. For students who have general dietary needs like a celiac or gluten intolerance, we have options available there. We have dairy-free alternatives. As you're aware, Fresh Food Cafe is also peanut and tree nut free. So if you have students with those particular allergies, we abstain from ordering any food products. That does not mean that a food processor does not handle peanuts in their facility. So please understand there's always a risk. We can never be 100% guaranteed for gluten or any of the other allergies that exist out there, but we try our darndest to make sure that we don't bring them in or introduce them to the cafe unnecessarily. So those are kind of the top highlights for students in terms of meal plan.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions here that really relate to the dean's office, so I'll go ahead and answer those. If a student hasn't called you in a couple of days, is there a place that you can call? Well, one, you can try Dean Martinez's trick of, I'm trying to think of what car to buy you, and maybe they'll respond. But you could also go ahead and call our dean's office, so the Office of the Dean of Student Life. And we have 2 case managers who are on staff with us. Allison Leventhal is one of them. We also have an array of other staff members who are there to help support and connect with students. And as Dean Martinez mentioned earlier, we can't always share information exactly about where your student is, but we can, provide information about, well, we see that there hasn't been a concern that's come up to us. So you're certainly welcome to call the dean's office if you have concerns about your student, and we can walk you through our process to either find out more information or to at least put your minds at ease. Another question was about how do we encourage students who are less likely to feel like stopping by or making a phone call to access resources, and that's a very reasonable question. Email is probably the best way to do that, and we have our websites are all currently being updated, and so all of our contact information is available online. Again, the Dean of Student Life office is probably the best place to start for those kinds of questions. I just don't know where to go, can you help me? And we will certainly, if we get an email like that into the Dean of Student Life office account, we will certainly make sure that we respond to that student and help them get the support and help that they need. As you can imagine, we have a couple of questions about safety, and so for you, Mr. James, just general safety concerns with the recent increase in crime. What extra things are we doing to help ensure safety on campus? We'll start there.
Okay, thanks. It's while people think about safety and security, especially for your children coming to Johns Hopkins, I think about this stuff 24/7. It is really important to me to make sure that we're doing everything. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing. I already mentioned the fact that we've got our campus police officers as well as the Allied Barton officers that you see and our off-duty Baltimore City police officers working with us on a 24-hour basis. And that gives us the visual, the high visibility to try to prevent some crime from occurring here at the campus. Some of the things that you don't see, though, are some of the intelligence gathering things that we do with the Baltimore City Police Department. Every week there is an intelligence meeting that talks about crime and some of the activities that are driving crime around the area. Whether it's in this district, the Northern District, or some other district around the city, but we focus on the Northern District. And my interest along with the Charles Village Benefits District folk is to try to make this area as safe as possible along with the BPD. So those intelligence meetings are very important for us because we know or we get an idea of who's out there committing crime and what's the status, what's the kind of crime that's being committed. And then putting strategies together along with our partners at BPD to try to catch criminals and try to keep them away from our students and our student population. So that's just one of the things that we're doing. I think a couple other things that we're doing, and I wanted to mention this before we get too far down the road. Next week for the student orientation sessions, which we're doing for our students next Wednesday, I believe we got 2 sessions during the daytime. I've got 2 of my lieutenants that are going to be talking about specific tips, whether it's residential tips, whether it's dating safety tips, whether it's, how do I remain safe in the neighborhood? What are some of the things I need to do? What are some of the common sense things I should look for to give me an idea of what kind of environment that I'm in? So we're going to share a lot of those prevention tips with the students in 2 sessions next Wednesday. The other thing that we're doing coming up in September is our Safety Day. We're having a Safety Day Expo where we're going to use one of the yards out here to really bring in some of our partners from the BPD as well as other agencies and some of the departments along at the university that we work with to talk about how do we remain safe. What about safe dating? How do we do those things? And what are some of the things to look out for? And then we're also going to have some demonstrations. We usually, one of the popular demonstrations that they tell me that goes over really well here is the DWI, the driving while intoxicated goggles. And so we have this goggle mechanism, this technology that we use, and we have a defined area where we let our students put these goggles on and try to maneuver the golf carts that we use, and just to see how it feels when you become inebriated or intoxicated from consuming too much alcohol. So along with the crime prevention stuff and the patrolling and the high visibility things that we're doing, as well as the intelligence that we're gathering, we're always assessing our plans to make sure that we're training properly. We recently did a tabletop exercise. I was told that it involved a gas leak out on I-83, and if the vapors impacted Johns Hopkins University, how would we A, notify the university community, and how would we B, provide avenues of escape or shelter in place, and then how would we work with our local partners, the BPD, the fire department, hazmat, and those kind of crews in order to mitigate that situation. So we're always looking at what can impact the university. One of the things I will say, and somebody asked me this question, I believe it was yesterday in one of the sessions, was about the type of crime that we see most prevalently on campus. And the type of crime that we see most prevalently on campus are thefts. And theft of iPhones, theft of computers, theft of bicycles. So one of the things that we do is really hammer this away in our sessions next week, talking about protecting our personal property, taking pictures of your property, labeling your property, getting the serial numbers, all of those stuff, and getting things registered so that in the event that something is stolen, then we have some kind of information to go on and we can track it down, or try to track it down. I'll give you an example. Last night we had a situation involving a bicycle. And the reason I harp on bicycles is because I know bicycles are expensive. I'm a cyclist myself. So bicycles, we really encourage our students that if they're going to have a bicycle on campus, you'll see a lot of bicycle racks around, that they use the U-bolt type lock to lock those bicycles and not just use a cable, because some of the people that try to steal bicycles can cut, they walk around with cutting tools to cut cables. They know what they're doing. So the other thing is, if you can't afford a U-bolt, we'll give you a U-bolt. But because we really want to help you protect your property. The other thing that we're doing in terms of crime is really working with the Charles Village Benefits District, because we know students tend to go off campus into some of the areas in the business district, and really working with them with our surveillance cameras to make sure that if we see things that are going on out there that don't look right, that we're responding and we're taking some kind of action. So those are just some of the things that we're working on.
That's great. You started to mention some of the off-campus. Can you talk a little bit about how far the security extends? What kind of resources are out in the neighborhood?
Sure. On the northern side of campus, we have St. Martin Drive, which is on the northern side of the campus, that backs up to a forest or park area. That's our northern border. Over by the athletic center and where you see the athletic fields, it's called University Parkway. And we have officers stationed in that area because we have students that live off campus in that area. So wherever we have students living off campus, we try to post our officers for visibility and then to be able to respond and take some actions and call somebody for help. Over in the Charles Village side, I'm sorry, let me go back down to University Parkway. Taking University Parkway down to Guilford Street. Guilford Street is on our eastern end of our patrol area, which is outside of the campus proper. And the reason we extend out to Guilford is because we know we have a lot of students that, again, and staff, as well as faculty that live in those areas. And so we patrol around Guilford, and then we come around to 27th Street, which is on the southern side of the campus. and everything in between. So we try to extend out from the campus because we know a lot of folks go off campus in order to do business, in order to, go to the stores, in order to go to restaurants, et cetera, but we have people that live off campus. So we try to make it as inclusive as possible, and then by hooking up with the BPD, it really creates a big net for us.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Sure, go ahead, Allison.
One other thing that Lee's office does that I think is really valuable for parents to know, once your son or daughter's 2-year residency requirement is up with us, then we work with them to transition to living off campus. And one of the services that security offers is as they're looking at properties, whether it's an apartment building or a row home or anything like that, some of the security officers will go over and inspect the property for free to see if there are any concerns. Are the windows secure? Is the fire exit, functioning? And are there any things that you should be asking this landlord before you decide on something? So right. I don't think enough of our students take advantage of that situation, and I think it's a phenomenal resource. Yeah. So just keeping that in mind for 2 years down the road, but still a welcome service.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
We had a question, and this will be probably our last question, about the fact that Hopkins is indeed a pretty stressful place academically, and talking a little bit about some of the things that we have in place to assist with that stress. So I'll ask Dr. Ferguson and Dr. Torres and also Dr. Joff to talk a little bit about maybe very briefly, some of the resources that each of you provide related to stress relief and helping students cope with the academics here.
At the Office of Multicultural Affairs, we tell them to call you. No, just kidding. So at our office, particularly if they're involved in any of our programs, for example, we have a mentoring program and we have other programs to help students to succeed academically. We meet with them regularly anyway, and so they're meeting with peer mentors, they're meeting with us, we're checking in with them, we're kind of getting to know them, and then helping them learn how to navigate campus. And then we also just sometimes have to give them permission to sit down and breathe for a minute, and so we try to just support them where they are and help them to problem solve. And then we have events at our center where they can just come and be a kid and play with the Xbox or eat pancakes in the middle of the night for midnight breakfast or whatever. So, and it's their center, and we want them to know this is your place. And so, but we are always meeting with our students regularly. And with freshmen, we're going to be touching base with them and having meetings with them in September. Anyway, the staff will. So we connect with them at least twice a semester, if not more often if needed.
Sure, I'll go next. So Hopkins is a pretty stressful place, in truth, and some of the students who come here bring a lot of stress with them. So in order to be helpful to the students, we provide, as I said before, individual counseling, which can focus on that issue. We provide group counseling, including an anxiety and stress management group that runs a couple of times a year. It's a 6-week structured group, really skills-oriented so that we can help promote an ability to manage stress. We also have a mindfulness group that is quite popular. I don't know how familiar you are with the idea, but mindfulness meditation is very popular among the students. So we've offered a few of those groups in the last few years, and we'll do it again this year. We also provide outreach programming, so we'll go out to the dorms, for example, or to a student group and provide trainings, education on things related to stress, for example, or anxiety. And from a third angle, we work to help various members of the community become good at recognizing when a student is in distress and developing their skills on how to handle and be helpful to that student. So the biggest recommendation we make in terms of being helpful to the student is to try to encourage them to come to the counseling center. So a fourth one that I'll just highlight and then finish is our website. So over the last couple years, and particularly this year, we've been working hard to develop our website as not just a resource of information, but as a resource for skill building. So if you go to our website, you'll see various links to apps, other websites, YouTube videos, etc., all designed to, or at least many of them designed, to help a student manage their stress and deal with a whole host of mental health concerns. So there'll be more and more of those coming, and some of those are also there for you all. to access. So please do.
Do you want to mention APTT?
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you. So one of our staff members serves as a mentor and supervisor for APTT, which is A Place to Talk. That's a student counseling group. So they are trained to be effective listeners for students. They're more accessible to a lot of students. They set up in the dorms. They always have like candy and cookies and things. And they're very welcoming to the students to just stop by to have somebody to chat with. Now, if they are talking with somebody and they have the sense that they need something more than just that, they're also very good at referring to the counseling center. So that is a way in which we reach out into the community and have students there for other students. Thanks, Alan.
I'll just make a couple points. First, our Center for Health, Education, and Wellness, called CHEW, runs a variety of programs. Mellow Out Monday. They have a student massage group called Stress Busters that do seated massage in the library and at various campus events. And then do programming around, you know, how to relax and stuff. We work very closely with the counseling center, so that if we are seeing a student with chronic headaches or, you know, low energy or whatever, and we have any sense that it's related to a stress or a mental health concern, we try to get them to the counseling center. Particularly for freshmen, if we see a student that just seems to be struggling a little bit, I think we'll ask permission, and then I'll call Allison and I'll say, do you think that, you know, the resident advisor for so-and-so could just check in on this student, see how they're doing. We encourage students, depending on what's going on, if it's just seems to be pure stress and not much else, we'll encourage them to get into an exercise program, go up to the rec center. The rec center has personal trainers that students can have sessions with. I might call Irene and say, hey, I saw someone that I know is connected to OMA. Could you check in? Sometimes we refer them to campus ministries if, you know, a source of comfort is spiritual or religious. So, you know, I think we all try to work together to cast a big safety net.
Exactly. What a great way to end. Thank you very much. Let's thank our panelists. And that really is what we see ourselves as, a big safety net. Now that you're stepping off into the stands to really help your students as they thrive here at Hopkins. For the next session, well, first of all, I would like to ask, our panelists might be able to stay around for a little while, but let's have them meet out in the front lobby so that we're not taking, but hold still. We still have one more session. The academic advising assemblies will be taking place. So for those of you who have a student who's in the Krieger Arts and Sciences, you'll be staying here. And if you have a student who's in engineering, you'll be over at Hodson Hall. So Hodson Hall is right out these doors, make a left and then a right, and it's right behind where we were today at the Glass Pavilion in Levering Hall. So thank you all so much, and our panelists will go ahead and head out to the lobby if you have specific questions.
Good afternoon. We'll begin our next session shortly. This is a panel discussion on academic advising in the Krieger School of Arts and Sciences, and it looks as though our group is going to be small. So if you don't mind, please move forward, and I think we'll sit here on the edge of the stage, be a little less formal. We're a friendly bunch. We won't bite. And I think we'll have a chance for more of a conversation than a more formal presentation. So if you could move closer to the front, I think it'll go better. Good afternoon and welcome. We're very glad you're here. My name is James Fry. I'm the Assistant Dean for Academic Advising in the Krieger School of Arts and Sciences. And we're here this afternoon to talk about academic advising, define what that is, explain to you some of the processes, and make sure that you and your students know where to find us and how to access the different services information that we have available to you. I have several colleagues here with me this afternoon. We'll give you a short overview of what you can expect the next few days, the next 4 years, and then we'll take questions from the audience. So Diamond, why don't you go next?
So, hi, I'm Diamond Pollard. I'm a senior here at Hopkins in the Krieger School of Arts and Sciences. I am a writing seminars in psychology double major. In addition to my classwork, I work on campus. I'm a part of several Christian groups on campus, gospel choir. I do theater on campus, so I can kind of give you a direction of how academic advising and how academics relates to student life and how students how academic advising helps us really manage doing activities and extracurriculars as well as our academics.
Hi, my name is Adrienne Breckenridge. I'm one of the academic advisors in the School of Arts and Sciences. And should I go ahead and give my piece now? Okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is in the School of Arts and Sciences, we talked with your son or daughter this summer through email and phone calls and so forth, and we'll be meeting with your son or daughter in October in preparation for registration for spring semester. If your student has any questions or anything, we're always open and available to them. We have walk-in hours. But during that meeting in the fall semester and again in the spring, we'll work with them and find out how they're doing in their classes, help them decide on a major, and we also find out about and try to explain to them about other majors, minors, opportunities for research, study abroad. So we cover a lot of different things during that meeting time and try to give them any other resources that they may need on campus. Some of our campus resources I like to let parents know, because if your child or your student, your young person, when they get here, if they get into a class, if they're a science major and they're really good in biology and chemistry, but physics is the class that was their nemesis in high school, and they take physics here and they call home and say, oh my gosh, it's so hard, then you can tell them there's lots of academic assistance available. So we have a program called the Learning Den, which is tutoring. And so a student can sign up for tutoring hours pretty much almost any night of the week. They go online, they sign up for an appointment, and they'll be in a small group tutoring session with people that have taken the class and gotten A's in it. And so we try to provide that tutoring assistance for free for our students. Also, we have what we call the pilot program. And pilot is a wonderful supplemental learning program for a lot of our STEM sciences like chemistry, calculus, physics, and what will happen is they will have 1 hour a week where they meet in a smaller group with a leader and they go over additional problem solving, and it really helps students to achieve in those classes. And most of our students that use Pilot end up getting really good grades. We have another program called study consulting, and that's not individual tutoring, so it's not subject specific, but it's basically a service that works with students across the boards. So if a student comes in, they'll talk about how are you studying for your chemistry class, how do you prepare for English or for psychology. They work with them on time management. If you know that your student is probably going to struggle with a little bit of procrastination because they've been living with you for so long and you know these things, this is a great program for them to learn how to overcome procrastination and really focus in on their own learning styles and how to better achieve their goals academically here at Hopkins. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Desser, Karen Desser.
My name is Karen Desser. I'm another of the advisors in Arts and Sciences. I recognize several faces here from presentations I've done yesterday and earlier this morning. I wanted particularly to plant some seeds about programs that are coming up this coming week for your students during their orientation activities. I wanted you to know about them, partly so you could encourage your student to attend, and also so that you can follow up afterwards and ask them meaningful questions, both to help them process some of the information that they got and for you to partner together so that you'll better understand some of the choices that they're making about their academics. So programs that are coming up on Monday the 24th, 2 days from today, students begin the morning in this room with the Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences and the Vice Dean of Education for Arts and Sciences, so that they can get a sense of the leadership of the school, the vision for them as Hopkins students. They then have a group meeting with their academic advisor. All of the students have had contact with us during the summer, but for most of us it's been via email or phone. This is a chance for them to be live in a room with us, to hear details about Hopkins in general, and very precise information about adding classes, dropping classes, the different academic policies that a student needs to know. Those sessions go from 10 to about 11:15, and then from 11:30 until 2:15, students attend what we call open house. And I think this is one of the most enriching opportunities for them during orientation. All of the arts and sciences departments and the engineering departments will lead a session to help students understand what the discipline is about, to let them know about the major and other opportunities in their program. So it's a chance for students to meet a faculty member and hear firsthand from them what kinds of opportunities are available. For an arts and sciences student, like all of your students, it also could be a chance, if they're curious, to hear a little bit about a possible engineering program, if they're considering doing a second major in engineering or a minor. That could be a good learning option for them as well. So those open house presentations take up a good chunk of the day on Monday. Those are followed by what are called academic interest panels. And those are presentations by my colleague Adrian, by the Director of Undergraduate Studies for Mathematics, Professor Richard Brown, leads this session on math. Dr. Lori Seedy, who is the Director of the Office of Study Abroad, leads a session about opportunities for going abroad through Hopkins. We also have a presentation about internships led by Trudy Van Zee, who is the director for the Career Center. And that might also be another important option for your students to try early on in this freshman fall semester to visit the Career Center, to initiate their account. The platform they use is something called Handshake, and they can find out details about different programs that might come up later in the year to help your student begin to think about career directions and opportunities. So those are all programs that are coming up for them on Monday. Again, encourage them to attend and ask some thoughtful questions with them afterward to sort of explore what they're beginning to think about from these experiences.
Karen, you didn't tell them what my workshop was about. My workshop is called Going for the Gold, How to Make the Win. It's basically helping students come up with strategies and techniques on how to study and how to overcome it. It's a lot of fun, and I try to get them engaged because a lot of students in high school didn't quite learn how to study. They knew how to do homework and study for an exam. So we're going to try to show them the transition between college and high school and the expectations of faculty. So encourage them to come to one of those IEPs. They get 2 opportunities, so they can come to mine or one of the other ones.
So as you would expect, a lot of programs at the university are front-end loaded here around the orientation week. But to be clear, there are 8 advisors in addition to myself in our office, and we're here throughout the year. And all students are required to see their advisor at least once each semester. Your students will be expected to come in and see our staff in the first year in the administrative offices for professional academic advising. After the freshman year, most students will declare their major, at which point they are then assigned to a faculty advisor in the relevant major. And the students are likewise required to meet with that advisor once a semester. Again, the hope is that there'll be more frequent conversation, visits, talks about how classes are going, special opportunities that students might be interested in pursuing. But our office will monitor every student's record every semester. So if you've been assigned to a faculty advisor in political science and you meet with him prior to registration, ideally you and he are going to talk about what your interests are, what classes you want to take next semester, whether or not you have ambition to going on to graduate study. If not, what kind of professional work are you interested in? How are you tying in that academic work to these pre-professional opportunities? But that advisor may not necessarily be checking to make sure your student is doing okay in French 2 and is now ready for French 3. Our office will do that. It's our office through which the students apply for graduation. We're the ones who verify for the registrar, the president of the university, and the state of Maryland that your son or daughter has in fact graduated. So we are looking at your students' records very carefully. We are the ones who are producing the letters when they make the dean's list, and we're the ones they're working with when they're not doing quite that well. So the point is that this office is a great resource, a great reference tool. We're very well networked. We try to be as accessible and informative for the students as we can. We produce a lot of material, or a bit old-fashioned. We're still doing a lot of things on paper, but our website, the material we put out to your students online, is quite extensive, and we're hoping that you and your students alike will never have any doubt or question about, if I take this course, how does it work for me in my curriculum? It's always there on our website, in the different departments' websites, the university catalog. So the information is extensive, it's deep, and our network with the other offices across campus is quite good. We work very closely with the Academic Advising Office in the School of Engineering. We have many students taking courses as well as majors and minors between both schools. As you would expect, we work closely with the scholarships offices, study abroad, the Dean of Students office certainly. So we like to think of ourselves as a reference point, analogous to a reference desk in the library. I wouldn't necessarily say hall monitors. We're certainly, in some instances, co-pilots. But the point being that this is our full-time job. This is what we do. We're trying to help your students make the best of what the university has to offer. And there's a lot here. We do not expect your students to be experts by the end of orientation on majors, minors, and I'm going to go abroad in my junior year, and that sort of thing. It's a gradual process. There's a lot to be mastered and acquired, and we're here to help that process. So how about now if we take some very specific questions from you, and if there are things we think you need to know and you don't ask about it, we'll be sure to include that before we're finished. So who would like to start? Yes.
Oh, the workshop? It's basically a workshop that helps students see the difference between how they studied in high school and what the expectation is in college. One of the things I talk a lot about is in high school, they're in school all day long, but in college, they have these big gaps of time during the day. So trying to encourage them not to go back to their room and take a nap, but to actually use those hours to study. And, when are your peak hours of study? If your peak hours is 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, then that's when you plug in your hardest class. So I kind of give them a lot of tips, and I use a lot of anecdotes about funny things students have done in the past. I talk about myself and my college years so long ago and the mistakes I made. But it's really a lighthearted workshop, and it's really engaging, just trying to get them to start opening up their mind to trying to do things a little bit different. My experience has been over the years here is that students come in from high school, and a lot of your students in high school went to class and they really learned how to, in class they would listen real good, take notes, and then study for an exam, but they never learned how to study the material. They did homework. And so letting them know when you're in college, the expectation is you're going to read before you go to class. Huh? Read before class? So if the professor's lecturing on it, so I'm trying to just sort of start planting those seeds with the students, and then I do a lot of handouts, and I'm always available to talk to students more and then get them over to our study consulting program if necessary. So that's pretty much what it's about. It's just a really good push to kind of get them prepared for what they're going to experience in the classroom.
And when is this workshop going to be this week for them?
Yes, it's during the IEPs Ms. Desser just talked about.
Yeah, it'll be on Monday afternoon. There are 2 time slots. I believe there are 4 choices that they have in each time slot. Adrian's workshop will run in the first and the second. I believe the time slots are 2:30 to 3:30, and 3:45 to 4:45. So just like Adrian said, they go to Adrian's thing first, and then they can go to another one in the second time period. They don't sign up. It's the students will get a sheet showing them all the choices, and they simply go to the auditorium for the one that they want. So we can't see what's on the sheet. We won't get a copy of it. Only they get a copy. Right. and that's a great example. Engage them in conversation. What were the 4 options? Which ones did you go to? Why did you pick those? And like, get that conversation. Right, but they're going based on their interest. So chat with them about those interests.
So the question is about study abroad and how those courses, those credits, figure into the residence requirement that we have here. At Hopkins, students must complete 100 credits. Everybody needs 120 to graduate. 100 of those must be completed here at Hopkins. We very carefully vet in advance those programs overseas where our students are going, and they're often equated, in fact, with classes here at Hopkins. So in that instance, study abroad credit is considered in residence. So students have many options overseas. They can go abroad fall or spring semester. They can go for a full year. They could go in the summer. They can go in January during intersession. But in all instances, those credits would count toward the degree here. Yes? So I have a liaison who works between my office and athletics. His name is Patrick McDonald. We keep him very busy. But he works very hard to make sure that if students are missing class because of a prior scheduled practice, usually not practices, but away games and that sort of thing, that students are informing the faculty in advance when they're going to miss class. And if they're missing an assignment, a due date, a test, we make arrangements through Mr. McDonald to make sure the students have an opportunity to make up that work at another time that's mutually convenient for the student and the instructor. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, could you say that again? Yes. Correct. So the question is about AP credit and, by extension, transfer credit. So a student may get credit, we'll say, for physics and calculus, and they already know whether or not they're getting credit for that exam. That is already appearing on their transcript if we receive the scores. The students will know how many credits they are worth. So let's say your student gets credit for Calc 1 and 2 and Physics 1 and 2 as well. And I believe that should total up to 16 credits, yes? So the student already has 16 credits. Still needs to complete 100 credits at Hopkins.
You're going in and out.
So the student will then have 116 credits. They need 120. That student could take another 4 credits, we'll say transfer credit. They have an opportunity to do some independent work at another university or something like that. That student could transfer in those 4 credits in addition to the AP credits and the 100 credits completed at Hopkins. So the AP credits in that instance are working to their advantage. Students have the opportunity to transfer up to 12 credits from another institution. They should get prior approval to make certain those credits will transfer in the way that they want. And that would be, again, still 100 credits needed here at Hopkins. They could take 12 credits, say at a state university near home one summer, and then they'd have the credit left over that they could transfer in 8 AP credits. We'll discuss all this with your students when we see them on Monday, and then if they have very specific individual questions, we'll talk about it with them one-on-one. In many instances, students have already asked us about this. We've helped them clarify that. You should also know that many, many students, I'd probably say more than half, complete more than 120 credits anyway. Most students are taking 5 courses a semester. Most of our classes are worth 3 credits. If they have laboratory science, our course in macroeconomic theory is worth 4.5 credits. There are many ways for students to get credits from one semester to the next. So it's rarely an issue that your students don't have enough credit to graduate. And again, that's our job. That's what we monitor. So we make sure as your students go from one semester to the next that they're on track for graduation, they're making satisfactory academic progress. In the back in the red? The question is, if your student is under 18, do you still need their permission? I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not, but the system may not know that your student is under 18, so it would be prudent to inform the registrar's office as well as our office in advance. That's the case in your situation, and we'll do our best to make sure you get that information in a timely manner. Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe intercession to me, because I've heard about it a couple times, and what the choices are?
Sure, I'll answer this one. She asked what is intercession. So intercession is a 3-week period in January where classes are optional, and they're typically more relaxed or fun classes. I've taken a photography class. I took a class in a linguistics class where I got to invent my own language. Took a film and fiction class where I got to adapt a television episode into a short story. So it's really a time where our students can explore things that they're interested in that they might not normally have time to explore during the school year, and they do get up to 3 credits during that time. You can also do research. You can do short internships. One intercession, I actually stayed home and shadowed in my school board department, so I got to shadow teachers and principals. So it's really time for the student to kind of branch out and explore the things they're interested in without having to worry about grades or the other academic things that they focus on during the fall and during the spring.
Did you do BMAR?
I did.
Let's talk about that.
So in your freshman year, you have this option of doing a intercession course called Be More. It's a week long, and it's usually all day, and you get to actually go out and adventure into Baltimore. So that's when I took the photography class. I took a photography class, so I learned kind of the mechanics of taking pictures, and then I got to explore areas of Baltimore like Fells Point and Federal Hill. So I really got to explore areas of Baltimore that I wouldn't normally do as a freshman, because you typically are more on campus during that time.
That program usually is the last week of intercession, so they can be home most of intercession. And they have things like Baltimore and the health professions, so they might go visit medical institutions. They have things where they get to go to museums, so they'll be in class, but they also go out and do field trips. They have a little bit of community service usually wrapped into that. But it's a wonderful opportunity for them to learn about like education in Baltimore, and so they'll talk about it in the classroom. They'll have speakers come in, and then they'll go out and visit different sites and things. So it's an excellent opportunity for your students to actually be home for intercession, but then come back a week early, move in early for classes, and really get a fantastic experience for credit. Intercession, you can get up to 3 credits. Most of the intercession classes are going to be 1 or 2 credits. So some students can arrange where they can take 2 classes or 3 1-credit classes. It's more what really interests them, and then they can kind of try to make it work. There's also classes available that are for non-credit for students, like ballroom dancing and things like that, stuff that students want to do, but they never get the opportunity to do it, and it's just for fun. So. Yes, the residence halls are open during that time. Some students will do research during that time, or do an internship at home or here, or so there's a lot of options, and a lot of times they'll come in and talk to us about it, and we'll refer them to other places if we don't have the answers to that. But yeah, definitely, it's a great opportunity. I'm sorry. Yes, we do accept research outside of Hopkins. The way this works is your student would have to find a faculty sponsor here at Hopkins, a full-time faculty member, and usually it's within their department or in the department that the research is close to. So if they're doing biological research, they get either a biology faculty, or if they're a neuroscience major, through neuroscience, and then they'll work with the department faculty advisor, and that person would be in charge of working with their principal in the research lab. And so it has to all be approved to make sure they're not washing out beakers for credit, but they're actually getting a real good experience. And a lot of times there's readings that go along with that, as well as bench research or other kinds. Okay, and so we do have research outside of sciences. There's lots of opportunities for students to gain research. Some of our majors, like public health, has a practicum that students have to do. And so some of our students will go abroad and do the practicum during the summer, during intercession, or they'll do something locally, but they'll work with a faculty member to set that up. Once again, someone here at Homewood. They can discover their own research. So if they go back home and they know someone that's doing a certain kind of research, it could be clinical research, it doesn't have to be bench research, as long as they get a faculty sponsor in advance of the experience. So if the student has already arranged something, they'd want to get it cleared before they start the research project during our add drop period of that semester. So and then we also tell students they're only allowed so many research credits a year, so we always tell them your resume is one of the best place to keep track of all of the different experiences you have for your future. But we definitely allow them to do it here and outside. A faculty sponsor, yes. We have a lot of students doing their own research projects.
The lady in the white sweater, you had your hand raised.
Intercession is part of fall semester. So as long as a student has been registered for fall, intercession is free, and that would cover dorms, it would cover the same meal plan that they'd been under during the fall, and it would cover the credit courses here on campus. It would not cover any charges for, say, like if they pick an intercession travel experience. There are a few that go to New York and talk to people in the finance industry. There are some longer trips that go abroad. So those would not be part of the fall semester gratis courses. But anything that's taught here at Homewood for credit is free. I couldn't give you a specific percentage. I know it's as much as a third, and it may be higher than that. I do know students who are very methodical about intercession. If you were to earn 3 credits during each of your 4 opportunities for intercession, that could equate to 12 credits. It's more common sometimes students might do 3 out of the 4 terms. Sometimes it's because they've been abroad and they don't want to commit to necessarily being here in January. It's probably more common for freshmen to stay home longer because they seem to still have connections to their high school friends. For the upperclassmen, I think psychologically, they've really adjusted to living in Baltimore. And for freshmen, we do see perhaps they're a little more interested at being home a little longer. That's why we position that Be More program in the 3rd of the 3 weeks, so that they can still be home almost all the time. I think Be More this year begins January 19th. It's a Tuesday, so it runs Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the semester begins the following Monday. So intercession is a great opportunity, and it's also a good way to do distribution credits. And that's a detail that the students will hear about more on Monday. And that's, again, one of those things they need to be aware of and educated about. And if you had questions, talk to them, and they should be able to explain the policy to you. And you can both go online if you need a little refresher.
Also, in regards to students staying home rather than coming back for intercession, what I found, because the first semester I did, for the first part of my intercession, I did stay home for most of it and then came back for the 1 week Be More program. I found that most of my other college friends at other schools had already gone back. So what happens is that you do tend to stay home that first intercession, then you realize that you're the only one still at home. So you come back and get engaged on campus, or you can find opportunities in your hometown like I did. But what generally happens is they go back a couple weeks before intercession is over, and so you're at home binge watching television, and it's like I could have been getting credits.
Yes, ma'am, in the red.
The credits for intercession are predetermined. The Be More course offers 1 credit. A student could certainly take a course during weeks 1 and 2 of intercession, complete those, and then take Be More in the 3rd week. Be More can only be done solo in that 3rd week because it's an all-day commitment. With regard to research, students must be very mature and proactive to attempt research. They are the ones with the responsibility for arranging the project. They meet one-on-one with the faculty sponsor to determine the academic component or product that will be produced. That's what's assessed for the credit. And usually the formula for determining how many credits is based on the hours that they're spending doing the actual research. And the formula we use is that 40 hours on the project equates to 1 academic credit. So you could earn conceivably up to 3 academic credits per semester, 6 credits per academic year, and the full 3 credits would reflect, 120 combined hours during the course of a whole semester. And we do see that for students, certainly. If a freshman wanted to get involved with research right away in the fall semester, that might be okay for a certain type of student who perhaps had research experience previous to coming here as a freshman. They certainly can find out more about research during those academic interest panels on Monday. There is a presentation where Dr. Robert Horner, who's one of the biology faculty members here, talks about research in the sciences. So that might be a good learning opportunity for a student.
If a student wanted to do research at NIH during the summer, are you able to help him find an advisor that he could work at NIH with? Like your career counselor?
Here, do you want to do that? Yeah, usually students will go through the department they're looking at. So if your student is interested like in neuroscience, we would refer them over to Linda Gorman, and she would talk to them about what kind of research it is. And then if she's not able to help, she would refer them to another faculty member that could. And so the departments really are great resources, and they have on some of their websites steps for students to take to do that. And so it's really important that the students reach out and let them know. And we usually refer the students when they come in during our advising session in the fall. We talk a lot about what are the things they want to do, and we usually refer them to faculty or how to go about researching out faculty to do research with. So there's a lot of resources out there, but they'll learn all that in the IEP meeting. IAP? AIP. There's a lot of acronyms.
A lot of vowels.
And so. And
my question is there a connection that Johns Hopkins has with NIH that there would be an mentor here that would push it on the students' behalf?
so for an incoming freshman, that might be a little bit difficult to set up in the beginning because they want to get to know some of the faculty. But we do have faculty that have connections within the departments that are working, and some of our faculty have done work with NIH. And so we've had students do that. And so that would be something we'd help trying to, refer them to our director of undergraduate studies in those departments. They'd talk to them, and then that person would refer them to other faculty that could help them with different opportunities and options. But also having the student do the research on the website itself for the department will help out. So there's a lot of resources that way. It's not just one size fits all. It's kind of depending on what the student's looking for is where we'd refer them.
In research opportunities be linked up with the work study hours, or they are altogether different thing assigned by the school?
So research, the one thing about research is you can't earn credit and get paid. So a lot of our students will do research for pay at maybe down at the hospital or something, or in School of Public Health, but the majority of our students will do it for credit. And so it's not connected to the student work study. Student work study, there's a website that explains all the different rules for student work study and how to go about finding those positions. And so some students will decide to do it either way. Once again, they can document that on their Vita as they go on and keep track of it, so it doesn't have to be listed on their transcript.
I'd ask for a show of hands. How many of you have students who are in the arts and humanities or the social sciences? But the good news is your students also have the opportunity to do independent work, whether it's for research, independent study, advanced study. Your students will have on occasion the opportunity to sign up for upper level classes, perhaps even graduate school. But this is not an opportunity limited only to students in the natural sciences. All of our students have the opportunity and occasion to do independent work and research that will count toward their degree, and in some instances it counts towards their major as well. Your student has to be known to the fact that they have to have proven his or herself that they're capable of working at this level. They have the independence, the self-discipline, the maturity to manage this work on their own, but it is something that's available to all of our students. I'm sorry to say our time here is short. We have time for one more question, and I've been leaning to this side. Here in the aisle, gentlemen, please. Sure.
Does the registration process for class selection get any easier in the spring when the gym is small?
Can you repeat the question?
Does the registration process get any easier for the spring? We had a tough time.
Are you referring to easier as in getting into classes or selecting classes you want to take? Because those are two different questions. Yes, it does get easier because it gets less competitive because you find people who are not always, like the freshmen start to change their interests, so they'll be taking different classes. The upperclassmen are kind of weeding out those entry-level classes, so there is a lot more space toward the end of freshman year and sophomore year to get into classes that you need and want to take during registration.
And each year they move up in priority.
Yes, so in each year you register earlier and earlier. So seniors first, then juniors, then sophomores, then freshmen. So you do get a little bit more space because as seniors are finishing out, like they aren't taking up those spaces, and same with juniors and sophomores.
So I'm sorry we're out of time, but the four of us will remain here to take other individual questions if you like. I believe you have a variety of options next in your schedule of events for this afternoon. But before you go, there is one final point I would like to make clear. On our website, video in particular, I tell your students that I want to be among the first to welcome them here to the university, and I want to be the first to congratulate them at graduation. As I said earlier, it's our office that certifies, verifies your students met the requirements. I'm one of the guys who reads names at graduation. So from start to finish, we want to be involved. We like what we do. I think we do it very well. And I hope you'll encourage your students to come visit us often. Welcome to Hopkins.
2 seconds. I know that there are a few of you who are waiting for the closing session, and I just wanted to, I can do it in about 3 minutes. It's not even going to take, so if you're here for the closing session, great. If you want to speak more with Ms. Breckenridge, you're more than welcome to because she's amazing. So I just wanted to thank you all very much for coming and attending the parent orientation, family orientation program, and wish you the very best of luck this semester. We are grateful that you are here, and it was a pleasure meeting you all. We will be sending out an evaluation via email, and we would really appreciate any and all feedback that you can provide. We try every year to make this program better and better and better, so any feedback that you have is really very much appreciated. So thank you again for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day here. Good luck with that last goodbye at 6 o'clock, and best of luck to you this semester.